The war had been going on for 17 years. Every day, thousands died across the stars. The Velner Dominion fought the Krill Collective. The Krill Collective fought the Ashen Republic. The Ashen Republic fought the Velner Dominion. It was a circle of violence that never stopped. But there was one place in the galaxy where none of them would go. One sector that every species avoided. They called it the Forbidden Zone. The old maps called it Sector 7 Tertius. The very old maps called it something else. The Sol System. Commander Grix stood on the bridge of his warship, staring at the star charts. He was a Velner, tall and covered in blue scales that gleamed under the ship lights. His eyes were cold and calculating. He had won 43 battles in this war. He wanted to win 44. "Show me the Forbidden Sector again," Grix ordered. His navigator hesitated. "Commander, the Accord of Silence forbids even looking at those coordinates." "Show me," Grix repeated, his voice like ice. The hologram appeared. A small yellow star with several planets orbiting it. Around the third planet hung dozens of large stations, all dark and silent. The scanner showed no active weapons, no shields, no power signatures. Just empty metal floating in space. "They look abandoned," Grix said. "They are not abandoned, Commander. They are sleeping." The voice came from behind him. Ven shuffled forward, his old krill body bent with age. He was the ship's historian, keeper of forbidden knowledge. "I beg you not to consider what you are thinking." Grix turned to face the old creature. "What am I thinking?" "You are thinking those stations might contain weapons. Technology. Something to give you an advantage in this war." Ven's three eyes blinked slowly. "You are wrong. Then what do they contain?" "Humans." The word made several crew members step back. Even Grix felt a chill run down his spine. But he forced himself to stand firm. Humans have been asleep for 300 years. The galaxy has moved on. We are stronger now. We have better ships, better weapons. Ven shook his head. "You do not understand. Humans did not go to sleep because they were weak. They went to sleep because they were tired." "Tired?" Grix laughed. "Tired of what?" "Tired of ending wars." The bridge fell silent. Ven moved closer to the hologram, his old hand trembling as he pointed at the dark stations. 307 years ago, the First Galactic War began. 23 species fought for dominance. The war lasted 6 months. Billions died. Then the humans woke up. "I know the story," Grix said impatiently. "The humans joined the war and picked a side." "No," Ven said quietly. "The humans did not pick a side. They ended the war. All of it. In 6 hours. That's impossible. It happened. I have seen the records. The humans sent one message to every fleet, every world, every leader. The message said, 'Stop fighting, or we will stop you.' Every species laughed. Every species ignored the warning. Then the humans showed them what would happen if they did not stop." Ven pulled up an old file on his datapad. Images of massive destruction filled the hologram. Not planets destroyed, but fleets disabled. Weapons rendered useless. Communication networks taken over. Supply lines cut. All in perfect coordination across hundreds of star systems. In 6 hours, every species begged for peace. The humans did not destroy anyone. They did not need to. They simply showed that they could end any conflict whenever they chose. After that, the humans made everyone sign the Great Accord. No more wars. No more fighting. And then they went to sleep, Grix finished. Yes, they said they were tired of being the galaxy's police force. They said they hoped we would learn to live in peace on our own. They gave us one rule. Never wake them unless absolutely necessary. Never disturb their sleep. Never go near their sector. And we failed, Grix said, looking at the war reports scrolling across his screen. We started fighting again the moment they were gone. Not immediately. We had peace for 120 years. But yes, eventually, we forgot the lesson. We forgot what happens when humans wake up. Grix studied the dark stations again. Inside each one were thousands of humans in cryosleep, waiting, dreaming, ready to wake if called. But there were no active defense systems showing on his scanners. No weapons charged. No shields up. What if we just took one? Grix said softly. Just one station. We could study their technology. Learn their secrets. Commander, please. We would be careful. We would not wake them. We would just borrow a little of their knowledge. Ven closed all three eyes. Commander Grix, in all my years studying history, I have learned one truth. Every species that has ever thought they were smarter than humans has been proven wrong. Usually very quickly. But Grix had already made his decision. He turned to his tactical officer. Prepare a strike team. Small force. Stealth approach. We go in, we extract some data from their systems, and we leave before anyone notices. Commander, this violates the Accord of Silence. Every species agreed. Every species is dying in this war. Grix shouted. We need an advantage. This is our chance. The orders went out. Ships began to move toward the Forbidden Zone. Ven stood alone on the bridge, watching the fleet change course. He whispered an old Krill prayer for the dead, because he knew what was coming. Far away, in the silent stations orbiting the third planet, machines began to detect the approaching ships. Automated systems that had been waiting for 300 years started running diagnostic checks. Deep in the cryo bay of a station called Serenity's Watch, a single light changed from blue to yellow on pod number 001. Inside the pod, Tae-1 dreamed of Earth. He dreamed of blue skies and green forests. He dreamed of a humanity that had chosen peace over power. He dreamed of sleep, but the dream was about to end. The light on his pod changed from yellow to red. The Velner strike team moved through space like shadows. 12 ships, all with stealth technology active. They approached Serenity's Watch from the dark side of the planet, where sensors would have the hardest time detecting them. Cross led the team. He was younger than Grix, but just as ambitious. He stood in the command pod of the lead ship, watching the station grow larger on his screen. It looked dead, ancient. No lights except for a few dim markers showing where the docking ports were. This will be easy, one of his soldiers said. Cross was not so sure. Something felt wrong. The station was too quiet, too still, like a sleeping predator. Approach docking port 7, Cross ordered. Minimal power signatures. We go in, access their main computer, copy everything we can, and leave within 1 hour. The ships docked softly. Magnetic clamps engaged with barely a sound. The strike team suited up and moved into the station through the airlock. Emergency lights flickered on as they entered, triggered by their movement. Everything was gray and old. Dust floated in the air. The walls were covered with writing in the human language. Cross could not read it, but his translator picked up some words. Peace protocol, active. Hibernation status, stable. Do not disturb. They moved deeper into the station. The layout was simple, almost too simple. Wide corridors. Clear signs pointing to different sections. Medical, engineering, command, cryobay. Split into teams, Cross ordered. Team 1 to command. Team 2 to engineering. Team 3 would need to the cryobay. As the team separated, alarms suddenly began blaring. Not loud emergency alarms, but soft, persistent chimes. All through the station, speakers crackled to life. Warning! Unauthorized presence detected. Containment protocol initiated. Warning. Cross froze. What did we trigger? His engineer checked his scanner. Nothing. We have not touched anything. But deep in the station's core, systems were activating. Power that had been dormant for 3 centuries began flowing through ancient circuits. Computers woke up. Sensors came online. And in the cryo bay, temperature control started fluctuating. Cross reached the cryo bay first. It was enormous. Row after row of white pods stretched into the darkness. Thousands of them. Each one held a sleeping human, preserved perfectly in frozen time. Frost covered the glass panels. Inside, Cross could see their faces. Peaceful, calm. "This is it," he whispered. "The sleeping army everyone fears." He approached the nearest pod. The identification panel read, Tay-1, Military Commander, Emergency Response Specialist. Below that was a warning in bright red letters. Cascade Protocol. Do not wake without authorization. Get the data from that terminal. Cross told his engineer. The engineer plugged in his device and started downloading. Numbers and symbols flashed across his screen. "Commander, I am getting something strange. These are not just cryopods. They are connected to some kind of network. They are communicating with each other." Communicating? How can they communicate if they are asleep? I do not know, but there is data flowing between all the pods. And it just increased. A lot. In the command center, Cross's Team 1 found the main computer. It was surprisingly simple. A large screen with basic controls. One of the Velner soldiers touched the console, trying to access the files. The screen lit up immediately. A calm female voice spoke in perfect galactic common. "Breach detected. Human preservation protocol violated. Initiating emergency response. All systems activating. Sending alert to Galactic Union. Shut it down." The team leader shouted. "I am trying." It will not stop. Across the galaxy, every ship, every station, every communication hub received the same message. It appeared on screens in the middle of battles. It interrupted military briefings. It woke up sleeping politicians in the middle of the night. Containment breach. Sector 7 Tertius. Human Preservation Station. Serenity's Watch. Unauthorized entry detected. Emergency Revival Protocol. Activated. This is not a drill. On the Velner flagship, Commander Grix watched his screen flash red. Around him, his crew had gone completely silent. Then his communication board exploded with incoming messages. From his own fleet. From the Krill Collective. From the Ashen Republic. From species he did not even know were in the sector. All of them saying the same thing. "What have you done?" A Krill admiral appeared on his screen, all 3 eyes wide with panic. "Grix, tell me you did not enter the Forbidden Zone." We just wanted to look." "You fool. You absolute fool. All fleets, cease fire immediately. All combat operations stop now. Everyone pull back from Sector 7 Tertius. Now." Across the war-torn galaxy, something impossible happened. Ships that had been trying to destroy each other minutes ago suddenly stopped shooting. Fleets that had been enemies for 17 years turned and started moving in the same direction. Every species, every faction, every military force began converging on one location, the Sol System, but they were not coming to attack. They were coming to contain. Back on Serenity's watch, Cross felt the temperature change. The air was getting warmer. He looked at the cryopods and saw the frost beginning to melt. Inside Tay-1's pod, his eyes were moving behind his closed eyelids. Rapid eye movement, dreaming, waking. "We need to leave," Cross said quietly. "Right now." His engineer was still downloading data. "Almost done. Just another." The power surge hit without warning. Lights blazed on throughout the station. The gentle hum of machinery became a roar. In the cryo bay, every single pod began its revival sequence at once. Cross ran. His team followed. They sprinted through the corridors as behind them thousands of pods started opening. They could hear the hiss of pressure releases, the sound of ice cracking, the first gasps of breath. They reached their ships and disconnected, engines screaming as they pulled away from the station. Cross looked back through his viewport and saw lights blazing in every window of Serenity's watch. The station was waking up. After 300 years of darkness, it was alive again. In his pod, Taewon opened his eyes. For a moment, he did not remember where he was. Then the memories came flooding back. Earth, the Great Accord, the decision to sleep, the hope that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would learn to live in peace. He took a deep breath. His lungs hurt. His muscles were stiff. But his mind was clear and sharp. "Computer," he said, his voice rough from centuries of silence. "Status report." The calm voice responded immediately. "Welcome back, Commander Taewon. Current date, October 15th, 2847. You have been in cryosleep for 307 years. Station breach detected 42 minutes ago. Emergency protocols activated. Multiple unauthorized vessels detected. The 7th Galactic War is currently in progress." Taewon closed his eyes. "The 7th War?" "Correct." He sat up slowly, disconnecting the medical tubes from his arms. Around him, other pods were opening. He could hear coughing, confused voices asking questions. "Computer, they did not learn anything, did they?" "Negative, Commander. It appears the lesson was forgotten." Taewon stood up, his legs shaky but growing stronger with each step. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. In the distance, he could see ships gathering. Thousands of them, all keeping their distance, all afraid. "Then I guess," he said softly, "we will have to teach them again." Taewon made his way to the command center, moving carefully through corridors he had not walked in over 3 centuries. Other humans were waking now, stumbling out of their pods, confused and disoriented. Medical staff who had also been sleeping were already moving among them, checking vital signs and helping people adjust. The command center doors opened for him automatically. Inside, the main screen showed him everything he needed to see. Ship positions, communication logs, news feeds from across the galaxy, war reports. He sat in the commander's chair and started reading. 17 years of war. Millions dead. 3 major factions tearing each other apart. And now, all of them had stopped fighting and were surrounding his station with their combined fleets. "They're scared," a voice said behind him. Taewon turned. A woman stood in the doorway, dark hair still wet from the cryothaw process. Myra. He recognized her immediately. She had been the chief diplomat before they went to sleep. "Myra, good to see you awake." "I wish I was not," she said, walking over to look at the screens. "We gave them peace. We gave them 300 years of peace. And they wasted it." More people began arriving. Hyan Woo, the military strategist, his sharp eyes already analyzing the fleet positions. Su Bin, the combat medic, still carrying her medical bag even though there were no wounded yet. Jinho, the engineer, immediately checking the station systems. Dongmin, the intelligence officer, plugging his personal terminal into the main computer. "Cascade protocol worked perfectly," Taewon said. "The core team is awake. How many others?" Hyan Woo asked. "About 200 so far. The system woke up everyone within 5 levels of emergency response priority. The rest are still sleeping. Good. Let them sleep." Hyan Woo pulled up tactical displays. We do not need an army for this. We just need to understand what we are dealing with. Dongmin's fingers flew across his keyboard. I am accessing the monitoring network. The passive sensors we left running while we slept. Give me a minute. Outside the station, the combined fleet was growing. Velner ships alongside Krill vessels. Ashen cruisers next to species that were supposed to be mortal enemies. They formed a sphere around the Sol system, weapons armed but not targeted. Waiting, watching. On the Velner flagship, Grix stood frozen, watching the same scene. Ven was beside him, silent. They are not attacking, Grix said. Not yet, Ven replied. They are thinking, deciding. The humans always think before they act. An incoming message appeared. From the Krill Admiral. From the Ashen High Commander. From leaders of species Grix did not even recognize. All of them saying variations of the same thing. Hold position. Do not provoke. Wait. Then another message came. This one from Serenity's watch. Audio only. A calm male voice speaking in perfect galactic common. This is Commander Tay-1 of Earth to all vessels in Sol System space. You are in violation of the Great Accord. You have 30 minutes to withdraw beyond the boundary marker. Any ship remaining after that time will be considered hostile. This is your only warning. The channel closed. Grix looked at his fleet positions. 30 minutes is not enough time to move all our ships. Then leave some behind, a voice said. The Krill Admiral had joined the channel. Grix, you started this. You broke the seal. But we are not dying because of your stupidity. All Krill ships are withdrawing immediately. The Ashen Commander agreed. Ashen forces are pulling back as well. Within seconds, ships began moving. The unified fleet that had formed out of mutual fear was now breaking apart. But they were not running away. They were repositioning, creating a perimeter at a safer distance. Still watching, still ready. Inside Serenity's watch, Dongmin looked up from his terminal. His face was pale. I have accessed the monitoring data, he said quietly. All of it. 307 years of passive observation. And? Tay-1 asked. We know everything. Every ship movement. Every communication. Every trade route. Every secret base. Every hidden colony. The monitoring network recorded it all and analyzed it all. He brought up a holographic display. The galaxy appeared before them in perfect detail. Not just current positions, but historical data. Flow patterns showing resource movements. Social networks mapping political connections. Economic models predicting supply and demand. Hygiene walked in, the xenobiologist who had helped design the Great Accord. She stopped when she saw the display. Oh no, she whispered. The system kept learning, even while we slept. Yes, Dongmin said. The AI network continued analyzing data for 300 years. It built perfect models of every species, every government, every military force. I can tell you which Velner colony will run out of food in 6 weeks. I can tell you which Krill Council member is taking bribes. I can tell you where the Ashen are hiding their construction yards. We have complete information dominance, Hyanwu said, understanding immediately. We do not need superior weapons. We already won before they even know we are fighting. Su Bin frowned. But what are we fighting for? They stopped shooting at each other. The fleets are withdrawing. For now, Mira said. But the war is not over. They just paused because we woke up. The moment they think we are not a threat, they will start again. Taiwan stood up. Then, we make sure they never think that. Jinho, I need you to access the fleet network. Jinho looked confused. What fleet network? We do not have a fleet anymore. We have been asleep for 300 years. The dormant fleet. The ships we left in standby mode. Are they still functional? Jinho's eyes widened. You want to activate them? Commander, those systems have not been tested in centuries. They might not even work. Test them. Jinho rushed to a terminal. His fingers moved across the controls, accessing systems buried deep in the planet below them. In orbit around Mars, hidden in the asteroid belt, scattered throughout the outer planets, authorization codes that had not been used in 300 years started flowing through communication channels. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, massive hangar doors began to open. Doors that had been sealed since the day humanity went to sleep. The first ship emerged slowly, then another, and another. Sleek vessels with human design, their hulls still perfect, despite centuries of storage. They rose from their hiding places like ghosts returning from the dead. Haiyan Wu was watching the external feeds. How many? Checking now, Jinho said. He went pale. 3,412 vessels. All responding to activation codes. All systems green. They have been maintaining themselves automatically. On the Velner flagship, alarms started screaming. Grix's sensor officer was shouting. Multiple contacts. Hundreds of them. Coming from the inner system. The human fleet spread out across space. They did not form attack formations. They did not charge at the gathered aliens. Instead, they moved with purpose and precision. Each ship went to a specific location. Some stayed near Earth. Some headed out toward the boundary. Some simply waited in perfect spacing. T-1 watched them deploy. Beautiful. Exactly as programmed. You are going to scare them to death, Mira said. Good. Fear keeps people careful. And careful people think before they act. Haijin was studying the alien fleet positions. They are not running. They are trying to understand what we are doing. Let them try, Taewon said. Dongmin, send a message to all faction leaders. Tell them we wanted to talk. One representative from each faction. They come to this station unarmed. We discuss how this war ends, and if they refuse, Taewon smiled, but there was no humor in it. Then we show them what happens when humans stop asking nicely. The meeting room on Serenity's watch had not been used in 3 centuries, but it was ready within hours. A simple round table. Chairs adjusted for different species. Water and basic refreshments. Nothing fancy. Nothing threatening. 3 beings sat at the table, each representing one of the major factions. Commander Grix for the Velner Dominion, looking smaller than he had on his flagship. Admiral Vec for the Krill Collective, all 3 eyes watching everything nervously. And High General Yorn for the Ashen Republic, her forearms folded in a posture that was either defensive or aggressive. Taewon could not tell. Taewon sat across from them. Mira stood by his side. Haiyan Wu leaned against the wall, arms crossed. The message was clear. This was not a negotiation between equals. Thank you for coming, Taewon began. I know this is not how any of you wanted to spend your day. You threatened our entire fleets, Yorn said. What choice did we have? Every choice, Myra said softly. You could have chosen peace 17 years ago. You could have chosen it 17 months ago. You could have chosen it yesterday. Instead, you chose war. Again and again. Grix shifted in his seat. The galaxy is complicated. Resources are limited. Territory must be defended. You cannot understand. We understand perfectly, Taewon interrupted. We understand that you are fighting over mining rights in the Outer Rim. We understand that the Krill Collective started this war because the Velner refused to honor trade agreements. We understand that the Ashen joined because they saw an opportunity to expand their borders while everyone else was distracted. The 3 aliens stared at him. How? That began. We know everything, Haiyan Wu said simply. We have been watching. Even while we slept, our systems were watching, learning, recording. Dongmin entered the room, carrying a datapad. "Let me show you something," he said. He placed the pad on the table and activated it. A hologram appeared showing the Vellner supply network. "This is your logistics chain, Commander Grix. 17 major supply depots, 43 manufacturing centers, 109 transport routes." Dongmin touched the screen. Red markers appeared. These 5 depots are currently understocked. This manufacturing center has been offline for 3 weeks due to a labor dispute. These transport routes are vulnerable to interdiction. Grix's scales paled. That information is classified. Top secret, not to us. Dongmin switched the display. Now it showed the Krill political structure. Admiral Deck, your Council of Elders has 17 members. 5 of them want to end this war. 7 want to continue. 5 are undecided. Council member Vosh has been accepting bribes from arms manufacturers. Council member Krell is secretly meeting with Ashen diplomats. Deck's 3 eyes went wide. Impossible. Those meetings are completely hidden. Nothing is hidden from sensors that have been watching for 300 years. Dongmin showed one more display. The Ashen military deployments. General Yuan, you have told your people your homeworld location is the most guarded secret in the Republic. You believe only 5 people know the true coordinates. He zoomed in on a star system far from the current war zone. A beautiful blue planet orbited a yellow sun. That is your home. We have ships in orbit around it right now. Your planetary defense network does not even know they are there. Yuan stood up, all 4 arms trembling. You are threatening my home? My people? We are not threatening anyone, Taewon said calmly. We are demonstrating a point. You cannot hide from us. You cannot surprise us. You cannot outthink us. We have information you do not even know exists. This is not fair, Grix said. You have had 300 years to prepare while you started 7 different wars? Mara's voice was sharp. We went to sleep hoping you would use that time to build peace. Instead, you built weapons. You divided into factions. You repeated every mistake you made before. Hai-Jin entered the room, carrying a tablet. Let me explain how humans approach conflict, she said, sitting down. Most species fight with emotion, anger, pride, fear. You fight because you want revenge or glory or security. You fight until you are too tired or too damaged to continue. She pulled up charts and graphs. Humans stopped fighting that way thousands of years ago. We fight with mathematics. We calculate exact outcomes. We know precisely how long each of you can sustain this war. The Vellner economy will collapse in 4 months at current spending. The Krill population will demand peace in 6 months as casualties reach critical levels. The Ashen can last 11 months before internal political pressure forces withdrawal. You cannot know that, Yorn protested. We can. We do. We have models accurate to within 3%. Would you like to see them? The room fell silent. The 3 faction leaders looked at each other. They had come here expecting threats of violence, expected human superweapons, expected massive fleets. Instead, they were facing something worse, perfect knowledge. So what happens now? Deck asked quietly. You force us to surrender? You take over the galaxy? No, Taewon said. We give you 1 chance to surrender on your own. You end this war. All of you. Immediately. You withdraw your fleets. You stop all combat operations. You sit down and negotiate a real peace treaty. And if we refuse? Hyam Woo smiled. Then we do not destroy you. We simply make it impossible for you to continue fighting. Dongmin activated his controls again. Across the galaxy, human ships began moving. Not to attack, but to broadcast. Every ship sent out information on open channels. On Velmer command ships, officers suddenly saw detailed maps of all their secret supply depots appearing on their screens, along with coordinates for automated human drones already en route to those locations, dotting Krill government buildings. Politicians received anonymous messages containing evidence of corruption, bribery, and secret deals. Evidence so detailed and so damning that investigations would have to begin immediately. On Asha military bases, commanders discovered their encryption had been broken. Their communications were no longer secure. And worse, the human ships broadcasting this information were giving it to everyone, including their enemies. "What are you doing?" Grix shouted, seeing the data streaming across his personal communicator. "We are making war inefficient," Taewon explained. "Your military runs on secrecy, on secure supply lines, on classified information. We just eliminated all of that. Your commanders no longer know which orders are secure. Your soldiers no longer trust their supply chains. Your politicians no longer trust each other. We can adapt," Yuren said. "We can work around this." "You can try," Mira said. "But every time you create a new secret, we will reveal it. Every time you hide something, we will find it. Every encrypted message you send, we will decode. You cannot fight a war when your enemy knows everything you are about to do before you do it." Lex slumped in his chair. "This is not war. This is how humans end conflicts," Haijin said gently. "Not with violence, but with overwhelming competence. We do not need to shoot you. We just need to make shooting each other pointless." Grix looked at the data streaming across his pad. Supply depot locations, troop movements, political scandals, all broadcasting on open channels for anyone to see. His military advantage was evaporating in real time. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long what?" "How long until we have no choice but to surrender?" Haiyan Wu checked his chronometer. "Based on current data dissemination rates and projected political fallout, I estimate the Velner Dominion will call for ceasefire in approximately 4 hours. The Krill Collective in 5 hours. The Ashen Republic in 7 hours. That is impossible." "We will see," Haiyan Wu said. 5 hours and 37 minutes later, all three factions had issued ceasefire orders. The war was over. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Assembly Hall was full for the first time in decades. Representatives from every known species sat in their designated areas, waiting. The hall had been built for moments like this, for gatherings of all civilizations to discuss important matters. But it had been empty for years because nobody could agree on anything long enough to hold a meeting. Now they were here, because they had no choice. Taewon walked to the central podium. He wore a simple uniform, dark blue with no decorations. Behind him stood Mira, Hyunwoo, and Haijin. The other humans who had awakened remained on Serenity's watch, monitoring everything. "Thank you all for coming," Taewon began. His voice was calm, but carried through the entire hall. "I know many of you are angry. You feel we have overstepped. You feel we have taken away your freedom to choose your own path." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "You are right," Taewon continued. "We did take away your freedom. Specifically, we took away your freedom to kill each other. I want to explain why." He gestured and holographic displays appeared throughout the hall. Images of destroyed worlds, burned cities, refugee camps stretching for kilometers, mass graves. This is what your freedom looks like. 17 years of war. Billions dead. Entire planets rendered uninhabitable. Economies collapsed. Families destroyed. And for what? Mining rights? Trade disputes? Border disagreements? The hall was silent now. 300 years ago, we ended the First Galactic War. We stopped all of you from destroying each other. Then we made a deal. We said, we will go to sleep. We will leave you alone. We will give you the freedom to govern yourselves, to solve your own problems, to build your own future. All we asked was one thing. Do not start another major war. Taewon's voice hardened. You lasted 120 years. Then you started fighting again. Smaller conflicts at first. Border skirmishes. Trade wars. But they grew. They always grow. Because you never learned the lesson. Nari stepped forward. She was older than the others, with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been a philosopher and ethicist before the Great Sleep. May I speak? She asked Tae-1. He nodded and stepped aside. Nari looked out at the assembled species. I want to tell you about human history. Thousands of years ago, humans fought each other constantly. We had wars that killed millions. We built weapons that could destroy our entire world. We came very close many times to making ourselves extinct. She pulled up images of Earth's history. Ancient battles. World wars. Nuclear weapons. But we learned. Slowly, painfully, we learned that the strongest person is not the one who can destroy the most, but the one who can prevent destruction. We learned that real power is not the ability to make war, but the wisdom to make war obsolete. How? Someone called out. It was Thek, the Krill Admiral. How do you make war obsolete? By making it impossible to profit from, Nari explained. By making it impossible to win. By making the cost of fighting always higher than the cost of talking. Hyanwu stepped forward with tactical displays. This is what we are implementing. We call it the Enforced Peace Protocol. Here is how it works. All of you retain complete control over your internal affairs. Your governments. Your economies. Your cultures. We do not interfere with how you live. But, Mira continued, any conflict between species must be submitted to human arbitration. You bring your disputes to us. We analyze them. We find solutions based on data, not emotion. If you refuse to accept arbitration, if you attempt military action, we intervene. How? Yuan asked. You said you would not destroy us. We will not destroy you, Taewon confirmed. We will simply make your military operations impossible. We will cut your supply lines. We will disable your weapons. We will broadcast your strategic plans to your enemies. We will reveal your secrets. We will make war so inefficient, so costly, so futile that you will have no choice but to negotiate. A small creature in the back stood up. Laura, watching from the human delegation area, recognized the species. A Vin representative from a minor colony world. But what if we have a legitimate grievance? The Vin asked. What if we are truly wronged by another species? Then you bring it to us, Hyjin said warmly. We will investigate. We will gather all the facts. We will make a fair judgment. If another species has genuinely wronged you, we will help you get justice. But justice through courts and compensation, not through weapons and death. You are making yourselves dictators of the galaxy, Grick said bitterly. He had been demoted after the unauthorized raid on Serenity's watch, but he was still present as a witness. Yes, the one said simply. We are, because you have proven you cannot be trusted to govern yourselves peacefully. You had 300 years. You wasted them. For how long? Another voice called out. How long will you control us? Nari smiled sadly. Until you do not need us anymore. Until you truly learn to resolve conflicts without violence. It might take 10 years. It might take 1,000. But we will not leave until we are certain the lesson has been learned. Young-Soo entered the hall, pushing a cart loaded with data pads. He was an agricultural specialist, one of the few humans awakened specifically for reconstruction work. "I have a proposal," he said cheerfully, seeming out of place in the serious atmosphere. "While you are all learning to not kill each other, how about we help you rebuild what you destroyed?" He distributed the pads. These contain plans for agricultural restoration on war-damaged worlds, new farming techniques, water purification systems, food distribution networks, all designed by humans, all offered freely. The representatives looked at the plans with surprise. They had expected punishment, not assistance. Boris stood up from the human section. "I have prepared cultural exchange programs. We can share art, music, literature, help you understand each other better. It is harder to hate someone when you understand their culture." More humans entered, each offering something. Medical technology, educational systems, engineering support, scientific collaboration. The assembled species began to understand. The humans were not just stopping the war. They were building something new. "This is the new accord," Taiwan announced. "We will enforce peace, but we will also help you thrive in that peace. We will be your peacekeepers, your arbitrators, your helpers, not your rulers. We do not want to control your lives. We just want to prevent you from ending them." Vex stood slowly. "And if we refuse? If we reject this new accord? Then we return to sleep," Mira said. "We seal our sector. We let you continue your wars. But understand this, if we leave, we will not come back. Next time you destroy yourselves, there will be no one to save you." The hall erupted in discussion. Arguments broke out. Some species wanted to accept immediately. Others wanted to resist. But slowly, gradually, the voices of reason began to dominate. It took 6 hours of debate. But eventually, the vote was called. The new accord was accepted by a majority. Not everyone was happy, but everyone understood the alternative was worse. As the assembly dispersed, Ven approached Taiwan. The old Krill historian looked tired but relieved. "You did well," Ven said. "Better than I hoped." "You tried to warn them," Taiwan replied. "Grick should have listened to you. Young people never listen to old warnings. They have to learn themselves." Ven paused. "How long will you stay awake?" "A few years. Long enough to make sure the systems are working. Long enough to train arbitrators and peacekeepers from other species. Eventually, you will not need us to enforce the peace. You will do it yourselves, and then? Then we sleep again, and hope that next time we wake is because you want to celebrate peace, not because you broke it." 1 year later, Taiwan stood in the cryo bay of Serenity's watch. The new accord was functioning. Conflicts were being resolved through arbitration. Reconstruction was underway on damaged worlds. The galaxy was healing. Mira stood beside him. "Ready to sleep again?" "More than ready. Being awake is exhausting. Do you think it will last this time?" "I do not know. But we have given them every tool they need to succeed. Teaching, technology, fair systems. If they fail again, it will not be because we did not try." They walked to their pods. Around them, the other humans were already settling back into their long sleep. Youngsu waved goodbye, grinning. Bara was already unconscious, a peaceful smile on her face. Taiwan climbed into his pod. The medical systems activated, beginning the hibernation sequence. As the cold sleep started to take him, he spoke to the computer one last time. "Wake me in 300 years. Or if they start another major war. Whichever comes first." "Acknowledged, Commander." "Sleep well." The frost began to form on the glass. Taiwan's eyes closed. His breathing slowed. Around him, the station dimmed. The lights went dark. The hum of machinery faded to silence. In orbit, the human fleet returned to standby mode. On planets across the galaxy, humans who had stayed awake to help with reconstruction began boarding ships to return home. Their work was done. The galaxy had been given another chance. Another gift of peace enforced by the threat of competence dawned, and in the darkness of Serenity's watch, humanity slept, patient, eternal, waiting, because they knew the truth. Humans did not need to be the strongest warriors. They just needed to be the most patient teachers. And if a lesson needed to be taught again in 300 years or 3,000, they would wake up and teach it. All species had learned to dread one thing: